This is New York's #1 news. Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Joe Torres and Sandra Bookman. Laura Banke with sports. And Jeff Smith with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast. Now, Eyewitness News at 6.
A final salute for one of New York City's finest. Tens of thousands of officers from here at home and across the country lining local streets to remember one of their own, Officer Rafael Ramos.
You can tell a lot about a man by the children that he raises.
He was a cop for all the right reasons.
His family in pain tonight as they say goodbye to a man remembered as a selfless and compassionate father. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandra Bookman. Joe has the night off. A day full of tears as family, friends, and colleagues came out to remember Officer Ramos. He was one of 2 New York City police officers ambushed and killed last Saturday while on duty. Thousands of fellow officers stood along the streets for hours to pay their respects. Then there is this heart-wrenching moment, an NYPD commander giving Ramos's wife the flag that had been draped over his coffin. Their 2 sons by her side as she fights back tears. And NYPD helicopters flying over for a final salute. Ramos was studying to become a chaplain in the force, killed on the day he was going to graduate.
And I'm privileged to be able to tell you that today that I'm appointing him an honorary department chaplain for the 84th Precinct.
And tonight, here is a live look at the Empire State Building in Midtown. The tower lit up in blue this evening to honor the fallen officers. And we begin our team coverage tonight with Eyewitness News reporter Stacey Sager.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
It was solidarity as far as the eyes could see here in Glendale, Queens, as tens of thousands of officers from all over, along with the grieving friends and family of fallen NYPD officer Rafael Ramos, said goodbye. Vice President Joe Biden trying his best to comfort Ramos's widow, Maritza, and his sons, Jaden and Justin.
The time will come when Rafael's memory will bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eyes. That's when you know it's going to be okay.
The salutes in this sea of blue enveloped the flag-draped coffin, an overwhelming show of support ever since Ramos and his partner Wen-Jun Liu were gunned down last weekend. New York's governor reminding mourners of all the NYPD has endured in recent weeks.
The NYPD protected the right of freedom of speech, even though they themselves were the target of false and abusive chants and tirades by some. What a beautiful testament to their professionalism.
So many of these officers don't even know Rafael Ramos, but they'll walk away from this with a clearer glimpse of who he was, not just how he was killed. Mayor de Blasio made a point of that, talking about Ramos, the husband and father and man of faith.
He spent the last 10 weeks of his life studying to be a chaplain, and he was taken from us on the day he was to graduate.
There was a relatively small amount making a statement against the mayor, a sign, and a group of about 100 officers turning their backs to the big screen as the mayor finished speaking, a sign of the discord lately between City Hall and the police department. But for nearly 25,000 others here, this day was about respect.
This is probably the finest police department in the world. The finest police department in the world. They earned that praise.
Respect for a city that is healing, a family that is grieving, and a police department who has lost one of its best. In Glendale, Queens, I'm Stacey Sager, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And just a short time ago, Mayor Bill de Blasio's office released a brief statement in response to the officers turning their backs during his eulogy. That statement reads, "The The Ramos and Liu families, our police department, and our city are dealing with an unconscionable tragedy. Our sole focus is unifying this city and honoring the lives of our two police officers. In an incredible show of sorrow and solidarity, thousands of police officers from across the nation filled the streets of Queens to help honor Officer Rafael Ramos. They stood shoulder to shoulder outside that church in Glendale, a solemn blue wall. Eyewitness News reporter Andy Field continues our coverage with more on why so many of them said they had to be here today.
They delivered a 50-state salute, what seemed like 250 shades of blue and gray lining the funeral procession route. Officers from as far away as Alaska and California paying respects.
You won't find this anywhere else. You won't find this in any other field than law enforcement. We're brothers. When one of us goes down, we're going to be there.
Captain Bob Kinnear brought his Fair Lawn, New Jersey honor guard to Queens. Outraged anyone would murder an officer.
We are the first line of defense for domestic terrorism, and you have to understand one thing. These officers were executed, ambushed. Shouldn't be happening in this United States of America.
They came from Texas, Wisconsin, every state, and Canada. Many said they simply would not miss this funeral.
Anytime an officer loses his or her life, there's profound grief and sadness, and we try to be there for one another. And my partner and I decided that we'd like to attend, and we made it happen.
Most of those attending couldn't recall ever seeing this many officers anywhere. Some grateful JetBlue paid to fly them here, all of them on guard to prevent having to replay another memorial.
I don't ever remember something like this happening where they died because they were cops.
Many of those visiting officers know that no town, small or large, is safe from attack. Many of them will be back here when the city buries Officer Win Jin Liu. In Queens, Andy Field, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And New Yorkers are continuing to pay their respects to both of the slain officers at a growing memorial near the spot where they were ambushed and killed 1 week ago. Flowers, candles, prayers, simple words of comfort among the offerings that have been left behind. Eyewitness News reporter A.J. Ross is live in Bed-Stuy tonight. A.J.?
This shrine to the fallen officers continues to grow tonight as a constant flow of people and officers from all over the country keep stopping by to lay flowers, candles, and simply pay their respects to two brave men who dedicated their lives to protecting and serving us all. The outpouring of sympathy for Officer Rafael Ramos and Officer Win Jin Liu has been simply overwhelming, with hundreds of candles, flowers, cards, and other gifts now forming a sea along the sidewalk. While many people watched or attended Officer Ramos's funeral this morning, they tell me they also wanted to pay their respects here at the spot his life was viciously taken. While officers from all over the country also paid their respects and offered condolences to nearby NYPD officers standing guard.
I never saw so many flowers and candles. My heart goes out to Officer Ramos's family and Officer Liu. Shouldn't have happened.
This memorial here truly shows what people think. I mean, we've been watching the news back home, and when you see people here all day, all night long, bringing candles and flowers, it's incredible. It shows that the people here in New York really do support the police department.
That continued support for the NYPD is heartfelt and evident by these crowds that you see here continuing to stop this evening. And we'll have much more on this coming up on Channel 7 News at 11. For now, I'm live in Bed-Stuy. A.J. Ross, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
A.J., thank you very much. Funeral arrangements have not been set yet for Officer Ramos' partner, Win Jin Liu. But his family did attend this morning's service to show their support for the Ramos family. Yesterday, the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Tower Foundation said it is working to help pay off home mortgages for both the Liu and Ramos families. You can find additional coverage of Officer Ramos' funeral at 7 Online, including some of the day's memorable and moving images and the eulogies delivered by Vice President Biden, Mayor de Blasio, Governor Cuomo, and Police Commissioner Braden. We also invite you to look for more continuing coverage tonight at 11. And when arrangements for Officer Liu's funeral are set, Eyewitness News will bring you complete coverage. North Korea with a new threat tonight. The country's leader also using a racial slur towards President Obama. Also ahead tonight, the man who shot Pope John Paul II in the 80s showing up at the Saint's tomb. Find out why.
Temperatures were 15 degrees above average. We're still at 50 right now. I'm meteorologist Amy Freeze. Coming up, we're tracking rain. Second half of the weekend won't look as good as the first. Details on that in the AccuWeather 7-day forecast next.